You keep the money.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2-on-1 Fast Break podcast. It's been a few weeks, Dan, but I think everybody has been following your picks and been pleasantly surprised with what you've been up to lately.
Pleasantly surprised? What are you trying to say?
Well, you're still below 500 on the season. So
yeah, but I was due.
Despite the fact that you have 3 of 4 winning weeks in the last 4 weeks and coming up 2 straight winners, been a great couple weeks for you, and it's just been a shame you haven't been able to be on the podcast and gloat about it, because I know you love doing that.
Yeah, on the other end of the spectrum, though, we are breaking what has been really good luck in writing the column. So we're going to, hopefully the success will carry over to the podcast like it used to.
There you go. So 4-2 last week. We're not going to cover last week's games. We'll dive right into the Week 11 action. But kind of an interesting point in the year. We're kind of seeing the teams that have packed it in a bit. There's been a series of coaching firings at this point in the season. So it's really the point of the year where you can sort of gauge where teams are at and which teams. You have a clearer idea of the playoff picture.
You know what? You're not wrong, but most years that's a lot more correct than this year. This year there's a whole lot. There's about like 4 or 5 teams that you can call good, and then there's a whole lot of mediocrity. I still think the amount of teams that are playoff eligible still is are there more than 20?
I don't know. How many teams are in the NFC East? Because between them and the AFC South, they're doing their best to make sure everybody stays playoff eligible to the final week of the season.
Yeah, this year is Exhibit A is to not have divisions anymore and just
go Premier League style.
Exactly.
Just go a full table. I'd be okay with that. Although it is working in the Eagles' favor this year.
But I was actually saying this week, I hate that. I hate that the Eagles are still in the playoff hunt, because now I have to get devastated every week when they blow the game. Whereas if they were 3 games back, I could just watch and kind of like chuckle at how bad they are. Now it's still heartbreaking. Let me tell you.
Do you still expect things going into each
do.
week?
Every game I'm like, nope, this is the game where that Green Bay preseason game team's going to show up, and
the Baltimore game when everyone was convinced that Sam Bradford was going to the Pro Bowl and maybe the Hall of Fame.
Sam Bradford,
based on a quarter and a half of work.
The Eagles were working out an extension with Sam Bradford and his agent, and after the game against Green Bay, his agent said, "Nope, we want more money," and the Eagles said no, and that was a horrible move by the agent. Tried to hold 1 quarter of a preseason game as his.
It was a bold strategy. I'll give him that. He was. His value never would have been higher. So if you're going to ask for that max deal, that was the time to do it.
Bottom line is they're still, I think, a favorite in the NFC to come out of the East.
Yeah, it's really not saying much about the state of the NFC East right now. Dallas is still in it. They're 2-7. They're getting Roma back this week, and they're like, "Hey, we can still make a run for that division." And
it's a little scary.
They're 2-7. It's crazy.
Did you see Tony Romo's tweet the other day? He just tweeted the scene from Major League.
I did,
where Jake Taylor stands up and said, "I guess there's only one thing left to do: win the whole damn thing." And I was like, "All right, that was a really cool move."
Yeah,
that was something. Now I'm scared.
That was something someone that used to date Jessica Simpson would put out there. You got to have a little bit of charisma, a little charm. So, despite the NFC East blunders throughout the season, still been an interesting year across the NFL. So let's get right at it with your Week 11 plays. The first one, probably not the public side here, I'd imagine, a bit of a contrarian play. But you're going with the Detroit Lions. They're plus 1.5 at home, and they're facing the one of the probably public darlings of the season, Oakland Raiders. But you're going against Oakland here. You like Detroit plus 1.5.
Yeah, I like Detroit at home. Oakland's defense is still not very good, and they had a couple of those really good games in a row and got the public all hyped up. Like, Oakland's legit this year. Maybe they're fighting for a playoff spot in the AFC. But I think what we're seeing is that they're still a couple pieces away. They still are young and inexperienced at the skill positions, and they're still pretty weak on defense.
And they lose Aldon Smith this week, correct?
They do
for the rest of the season.
Correct. You know what? He was given a 1-year suspension. I don't know if that means the rest of this year.
Yeah,
or if it's-
I wasn't clear. I believe he is going to be. It's effective now.
So a full calendar year
Right,
from now.
like
Yeah.
it's like
That's a big
16
blow.
games maybe. I'm not 100% on that, but
You know, he has more arrests than sacks in the last year. I'm not making that up. That's a fact. 5.5 sacks, 6 arrests.
I have an equal amount of arrests and sacks in the last year.
But basically, this is one of those games where the Lions are coming off a win. No one gave them any kind of chance. Now they come back home, and the way that they played the first couple weeks of the season, they were way underperforming. They had to regress in a not regress. They had to come to the mean in a positive way. They were not that bad, and they're doing that now. I think they win this game outright.
Revert to the mean.
Revert to the mean.
Yep. I'm not on board. I don't know if it's the square in me, but there hasn't been a point this season where Oakland has really rolled over and shown that they're not the upstart team that everybody thinks they are. That even in their losses, they've been fairly competitive. I've liked what I've seen out of David Carr a lot. I think Detroit's defense has been pretty poor.
I think they've underperformed
with the
their
exception
ability.
of last week when they did a great job against Green Bay. I think that was just a kitchen sink game for them against the Packers. I think they really wanted to win that. They were seeing all those stats about how long it had been since they'd won at Lambeau and everything. And I just think after a huge win like that, they're due for a bit of a letdown, and it's an out-of-conference opponent. I don't know. I think this could go either way. So given that it's only a 1.5 point spread, I think Oakland's the better team, and I'd be tempted to side with them. But I certainly understand the angle that you're coming from with.
I like the home team, and for you daily fantasy players, I like Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford a lot.
All right, there you go. Jim Bob Cooter leading the way for that Detroit offense.
Gotta have trust in Jim Bob Cooter.
You always do. All right, so we're moving on to your second play of the week. Again, you like an underdog, a small underdog, and that's the St. Louis Rams. They're +2 heading into Baltimore to face the Ravens. Ravens, the worst team against the spread in the NFL this year. As the you see here, they're favored again, but they haven't paid off all season. But the lines haven't really adjusted for the fact that the Ravens are just not a good team.
And the Rams are going to Case Keenum this game. And I feel like this is one of those games where the whole team is going to get up and be like, if we want to keep our playoff hopes alive at all, we have to play our hearts out. It kind of reminds me of when, although this was due to injury, it was when the Eagles had to go to A.J. Feely when Donovan McNabb went down. And they weren't dominating teams the way they were, but the team stepped up and they were winning games ugly. And I feel like that's what the Rams are going to do here, because the Rams have a really, really good defense and a really, really good running game. All Keenum is going to have to do is manage it, and I think he could do that. And right now, with the way the Ravens have played all year, I don't see any reason why they should be a favorite to anybody in any situation.
Really good game against the Patriots that A.J. Feely almost pulled off for the Eagles all those years ago.
They have a couple of bad calls in that game. The Eagles should have won that game.
Yeah. Probably not the worst loss the Eagles have had against the Patriots in the last 10 years or so, but...
well, didn't you hear the Eagles are actually going to get credit for the Super Bowl win because of all the cheating that the
that's
Patriots were doing?
true. I mean, I'll feel great about that. Imagine the parade down Wall Street. So I agree with this 100%. I think the Ravens they're an awful team. There's no reason they should be favored against anybody, and I think we said this. We didn't have the podcast last week, but it was one of your plays last week to go with Jacksonville, and we talked about it. And it was the same thing last week where Baltimore was favored in that game, and we said there's no reason Jacksonville shouldn't win this, and they went out and won outright.
Although, did you see how they went outright?
Yeah, it was a really bad penalty call.
But they were
still
covering the spread.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the Rams defense should have no trouble shutting down the Baltimore offense, which has been awful this year. They're down to Kamar Aiken and some guys they recently picked up like Chris Givens.
Exactly. This is the kind of team that the Rams should be able to beat just with their defensive prowess.
Exactly. So just the fact that the Rams are an underdog here, even though it's just 2 points, I like getting the points. I agree with you. I like the Rams. All right, so more underdogs on the slate for you this week, and this one's a little bit bigger. You like the Bengals. They're +5. They're heading into the desert to face the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona very good at home. Cincinnati coming off their first loss of the season Monday night against the Texans. So, Dan, talk to us about why you like the Bengals here at +5.
I feel like over a field goal, this is a gift. what we just saw in the two primetime games and what all the public saw and what the books of the public saw was the Cardinals go into Seattle and win, which is not nearly as good as a feat as it used to be. And they saw the Bengals look like crap. And that's going to spurn that narrative of same old Bungles, Andy Dalton coming into late season form. And I think it was just a fluke. I think it's that simple. It was a fluke game. Teams play 16 games. How many great teams have ever gone 16-0, 15-1, even 14-2? Every team has games on their schedule that they lose, and the Bengals just happened to hit one of those on Monday night. And now, because of that, fans are going right back to that narrative that, oh, Andy Dalton can't win the big games. That wasn't a big game. They probably overlooked Houston. This is a big game, and I think they're the better team. And the fact that we have more than a field goal here is why I play this.
The Red Ryder BB gun doesn't create any pause.
It's easy to talk smack when you have 4-5 team that's winning your division.
That's true. How about those Texans? A clear path to the division right now with Andrew Luck and the Colts. Andrew Luck out, the Colts are reeling. But back to this game.
I believe T.J. Yates won a playoff game with the Houston Texans once.
T.J. Yates won a game Monday night.
Yes, he did.
He's good in my book. He's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks in the story.
History.
Houston
Just above
Texans
David
history.
Carr
Yeah.
and Sage Rosenfels.
You know, anytime Matt Schaub is among the leaders in franchise history, you've had some quarterback concerns over the years.
What's funny about the Texans is they keep on getting guys that could be wide receivers of our generation who are never going to reach their full potential because of quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins is a monster, the same way Andre Johnson was a monster.
Yeah.
Andre Johnson may or may not make the Hall of Fame, but he could have been one of the greats.
That's true. They certainly wasted a good 10 years of a Hall of Fame-worthy talent with the assortment of quarterbacks they had throwing to him. Anyway, back to this one. I don't necessarily think Cincinnati's the better team. I think Arizona's a very good team. Carson Palmer has been playing outstanding for them all season. The defense is very good. They seem to have an identity with their passing game and a number of good options out of the backfield. But I agree. Plus, getting 5 points, they're pretty evenly matched. That's way too high a spread. I think there's as you spoke to a little too much focus on what happened Monday night and not enough on the first 2 months of the season. Arizona is a good team at home, but I think the line's a little too high here. I think if it was around 3 is the right line. So
I think the Cardinals are getting a little bit too much love too. We got to remember they lost to the Rams at home, and they were very close to losing to the Cleveland Browns until Josh McCown got hurt and stayed in the game. They were down, I think it was somewhere in like the 20-6 area at halftime, and McCown got hurt, and the Bears' offense pretty much sputtered. Browns' offense pretty much sputtered. But I mean, the Cardinals are clearly a good team. They're one of the best in the NFC, but this is way too many points against a team that up until they had one bad game. Other than that, they were perfect.
I agree. Too many points. So Cincinnati +5 here. All right, and moving on to your fourth single play of Week 11.
Ugliest play of the season for me.
The ugliest play. It's a huge underdog. It's San Francisco +13 heading to Seattle. The absent 12th man this season, not been doing much of anything for the Seahawks, but damn, it begs the question, you're really backing Blaine Gabbert and the San Francisco 49ers?
I'm backing the team that I made the biggest bet of my life on their season win total under. On the road against the Super Bowl champions. Because who is Seattle to lay 13 points to anybody right now? The team has been playing like crap. Their home field has not been what it used to be. And Russell Wilson hasn't thrown for 300 yards in a game yet this year. Who are they to have a 13-point spread against any team in the NFL right now? I don't think San Fran's good. I think they're garbage. But, man, this is going to be one of those things that if we had like a giant listening audience, they would sound clip this.
And then when Seattle wins 27-3 or something.
But I was going to say, I don't think Blaine Gabbert is awful. I think that I watched him over the last couple of years in the preseason, and I feel like he's one of those guys who was drafted and put into play way too early. He didn't come from a pro-style offense. He was thrown into the fire on a crappy team right away and never really had a chance. He was set up to fail. but he was a first round pick for a reason. And he just looks more poised, and he looks like he knows what he's doing as a quarterback more. Now, I'm not saying Blaine Gabbert's ever going to lead a team to the playoffs, but I think he can run an offense competently now. And that's not something he used to be able to do. That is something that I look for in a quarterback when covering a 13-point spread. I think 13 is just way too many here.
Competency is something you look for in a quarterback when covering a 13-point spread.
Yes.
All right. Sean Jerome leading the rushing attack. It's also something you believe in.
I mean, don't sleep on my boy Kendall Gaskins.
Kendall Gaskins, backing things up. Lot of weapons there in that 49ers backfield.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's really, really ugly. But how many points are Seattle going to have to score to cover a 13-point spread? And are they going to
14?
I understand that, but I'm saying, do you think that I feel like San Fran's going to get a score or two here, and Seattle's
certainly within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it's just too many points. 13. This is what the spread would have been with last year. Should have been with last year's Seattle team. And I feel like the reason it is because people keep on having those same biases that. I mean, Seattle earned those biases. They're great at home. They have a great defense, but neither of those two things have been true this year.
It's very true. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But man, the 49ers just are not a good team. I realize they had, before their bye, they had the very good performance against the Falcons to upset Atlanta. But I don't know. I just can't get on board with it. It's a stay away for me. I think you're making a lot of valid points, and I certainly understand.
It's easy to make valid points when you're getting 13 points in an NFL game, because really that's a college spread.
Niners are basically a college level team, so maybe that's why. All right, but San Francisco plus 13. That's your fourth play for week 11, and finally your fifth and final play. It's a 2-team teaser. Just a reminder that you lost your open 3-team teaser. So
that was one of the losses last week.
Yeah, with the Packers. So no pending teasers, but we just have a 2-team teaser here to close things out. Both legs are within this week. So that's Carolina teasing them down 6 points to -1. They're at home against Washington, and Buffalo plus 13 on the road against New England. So again, we kind of struggle to play devil's advocate with these teasers, but why don't you give a shot here, Dan, and explain your thought process?
Well, I like Carolina laying 7, but just in I got to give Washington a little bit of credit. They've played really well lately.
They've been frisky,
but I think I have a really, really good read on this team. Kirk Cousins
on
the Redskins, yeah, and I bet on them and against them a lot this year. Kirk Cousins will. He can throw those short passes against soft defenses that his receivers will catch and then be able to take for as many yards as they can get. If you see how many passing yards he had Sunday against the Saints, it's not like he was bombing the ball downfield. He's throwing the ball 8 yards downfield. They were being caught, and then no one was touching the guy.
Two of his touchdown passes were thrown behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly.
And they ended up being for a total of 90 yards.
And he's really good at that. He has the accuracy to throw those 6-7 yard outs and the slants. He's that kind of good, but when those guys are going to be covered against good defenses, he doesn't know what to do. And that's what's going to happen here. And if I trusted Carolina's offense to cover a 7-point spread, I would have just laid the points. But I feel like I teased it to 1 because I do think Carolina wins this game rather easily at home. And I added Buffalo here. The Rex Ryan, New England Patriots rivalry is in full force. 13 points is a lot. The Patriots just lost Julian Edelman. Their offensive line has been getting by week, but they're still playing under 7th-round rookies and stuff on that offensive line. I just don't see this game being a 13-point game. I feel like New England probably will win this game, but I don't think that they have. Right now, they're hurt, they're banged up, and they just want to get out of this game with a win. I don't think this is a blowout.
Before I dive into the games exactly, what do you think is the line on Cam Newton touchdown dances this week?
I was thinking about making a joke about that too. Man, one of the things, I'm blocked by Bomani Jones on Twitter because I called him out a million times on turning everything into a race issue, because nothing bothers me more than that. But this is absolutely a race issue.
Yeah.
It's
the same weekend that Carson Palmer yelled "You suck it" or "suck it" or whatever.
While Drew Stanton was doing a dance on the sideline
stuff. And yeah, it's laughable that becomes a national.
A mom in Charlotte writing letters to the newspaper.
Right.
Shame on you. You're supposed to be a role model. He's a great role model. He wins. And, man, we can go on about what's
And
happening.
he's a super nice guy. All he does he
He
does charity work. He visits kids in the hospital.
Every touchdown, he gives the ball to a kid.
Yeah, he's always smiling. He couldn't be a more gregarious, personable, giving individual.
And the lesson that he teaches is if you score and you win, you can have fun.
Work hard and accomplish your goals,
and then
it'll be fun for you.
Yes. Oh man, it boils my blood when people get mad about stuff like that. And I'm a dude who thought when they drafted Cam Newton overall, that was one of the worst picks in the world. I thought it was Jamarcus Russell 2.0. And you're talking to a dude who recently drove 9 hours to watch my team lose to Cam Newton. I still can't even dislike the guy. He's great.
Yeah. What about Victor Cruz used to do the salsa dance and everything.
And that's great too.
And everybody loved it. It became his signature thing.
Sports are entertainment. That's why they exist in the first place.
Yeah. It's almost to the point where I feel like we shouldn't even discuss it. We shouldn't even validate such a point of opinion.
I thought about that too. Like that woman that wrote that letter got way too much publicity this week.
Right.
We should have just...
And you'd like to think, the Charlotte Observer, I think it was, or whatever paper it happened to be, they shouldn't even print something like that. It's despicable that.
But their goal is...
They've never sold more papers than
exactly.
they did this past week.
What year are we in? They never got more page clicks than they got this week.
And I'm sure they still print stuff.
They print some.
So
it's 90% online.
Yeah. Well, I think the target audience for people outraged by the Cam Newton dance is largely people still buying up the newspaper. So you have that to consider. But anyway, back to the games. I agree with you. Carolina at home, they're the better team than Washington. Washington has been very, very competent throughout the season. They won some games in tough spots, but I don't see them coming out on top here. And again, Buffalo, they're a good team. Not a good team, but they're not a bad team. And they played New England tough earlier in the season. Granted, that was at home, but New England, they keep losing guys. And at some point, it's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and they're not going to just be able to plug somebody else in and keep moving along. So they're down Dion Lewis, down Julian Edelman, a few other injuries for them. It's eventually the train has to stop. And I think getting 13 points is certainly within what Buffalo will do here for that game.
If I have a really good week and I'm sitting on a nice big plus, I think I might take a moonshot at a Buffalo money line here.
A Buffalo money line?
Yeah.
So is this a Sunday night game or is this later? When on Sunday?
I think it's one on night. It's either Sunday night or Monday night.
Okay. All right, so those are Buffalo plus 13, Carolina -1. That's your two-team teaser. So just to recap, 5 plays for Week 11. Detroit plus 1.5, St. Louis plus 2, Cincinnati plus 5, San Francisco plus 13, and a two-team teaser, Carolina -1, Buffalo plus 13.
It's the Monday night game.
It's the Monday night game. All right, so you certainly have a day to think about all the winnings you had on Sunday. And
let's just keep it up. I want to get over 500 for the year. We're on our way.
All right. Yeah. 25-32-3 on the season, which doesn't sound great, but if you were listening a month ago, it sounds a heck of a lot better. So almost back to 500. Another winning week here would make it 3 in a row for you, and that would certainly be a great step for you to get back there. All right. Anything else to add, Dan, before we sign off here?
No, just good luck. Enjoy watching this product that the NFL is putting out of mediocrity, but have a good week. Win some money.
Yeah, more people are watching than ever, so
yeah,
they're doing something right. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the Philly Fast Break podcast. This theme song is brought to you by Epsilon Knots Keep the Money. You can check out more of their music at freemusicarchive.org. And you can read more of our stuff at phillyfastbreak.com. Thanks.